I want to turn to impeachment and the markup madness yesterday. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler delayed the vote after a marathon session on the Hill. The House Judiciary ranking member firing back. Watch.
I want the members on both sides of the aisle to think about what has happened over these last 2 days and to search their consciences before we cast our final votes.
You chose not to consult the ranking member on a schedule issue of this magnitude?
So typical.
This is the kangaroo court that we're talking about.
She's outrageous.
It's more Stalinist than
unbelievable.
Not even consult.
This was the most Bush League thing I have seen forever. And if the American people wondered about this impeachment anymore, they don't have to wonder anymore. They saw what happened right here tonight, because this committee is more concerned about getting it on TV in the morning than it was finishing its job tonight and letting the members go home. They do not care about rules. They have one thing, their hatred of Donald Trump. And this crap like this is why people are having such a terrible opinion of Congress. I don't have a chairman anymore. I guess I just need to go straight to Ms. Pelosi.
Joining me right now is the man himself, Georgia Congressman, House Judiciary Ranking Member Doug Collins. And Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for all you're doing, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Maria.
But that was a total surprise to you. And what was behind it? Do you think they just wanted more cameras, more eyeballs on the vote for impeachment? So they said, oh, let's just do it tomorrow at 10 in the morning instead of 11 at night?
I believe so. I think they needed another day of news cycle. This would have been a dead day of cycle, and they just want to keep it going. This is all they're trying to do, is disrupt the president, disrupt what the people are understanding about impeachment, because they spent all day yesterday not advancing the ball at all. They went back over their same tired talking points. This president did nothing wrong. They have no facts to back it up. They made the two most amorphous articles of impeachment ever so they can try to fit in anything. So last night it got late. They said, uh-oh, people may not be watching. Let's take another news cycle day. I think Speaker Pelosi probably ordered, let's move this to Friday, so we'll try and own another morning talking about a sham impeachment. And it was just totally uncalled for. Maria, there's one thing that we do have around here, even when we disagree on policy. There's some civility concerning schedule. And all he had to have done yesterday evening was say, look, we're going to go to about 7 or 8 o'clock. We're going to roll this into tomorrow. Or even at 10 o'clock, say, hey, it's late. We want to roll this into tomorrow. I know you may not like it, but we're going to do it. But they did not have the decency to even say that. They sprung this on all of us, and now we're here at 10. He even sprung it on some of his own members, that I was told last night.
Yeah, there's a good op-ed in the Journal this morning, and it's titled The Incredible Shrinking Impeachment. In it, they write, Democrats wrap these charges in high-toned rhetoric about this solemn day and quotes from Benjamin Franklin. But they're essentially impeaching Mr. Trump because they despise him and the way he governs. This is the classic standard of maladministration, which the founders explicitly considered but excluded from the Constitution as grounds for impeachment. They did so because they feared that partisan Congresses would too easily impeach presidents of the opposite political faction on this subjective basis rather than for serious offenses. And, Congressman, they unveiled 2 articles yesterday. Talk to us about that. They want to rush these 2 articles through. Tell us about the credibility of these articles.
You really didn't know how much the founders were futuristic in their thinking, but they thought of Jerry Nadler and Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff when they thought about a partisan impeachment. Because this is what happened. They put abuse of power. That's the most amorphous thing that you can say, because what they did was they had to give all of their members, especially those members in vulnerable districts, something that they could hold on to without saying the president committed a crime, because the president did not commit a crime. And so what they had to do was say he just abused his power. I mean, folks like Eric Swalwell have said that he could be impeached for removing an ambassador. That's just a joke, and it just shows the hypocrisy of the argument. So that's why abuse of power is there. The other one is obstruction of Congress. This is another one that is just amazing to me, because it's just like acting like petulant children who didn't get their way, and now they're just mad about it. So after less than 70-something days, they're rushing to get this, but they say that the president didn't communicate with them. The president didn't offer anything, and they never tried. Just to put this in perspective, the Clinton impeachment, this is 20 times faster than the Clinton impeachment. This is the 2 articles that they're going to go to the American people with and say this president needs to be removed on. Good luck with that. The American people are seeing through this.
Yeah, I mean, I was with some Wall Street people last night, and they were telling me, the traders on Wall Street, nobody believes this. They're just buying stock, sending the market to record highs, because they're looking at the policies and they're looking at what's happening in terms of the backdrop in the economy, and they do not believe this hearing. I mean, I thought that was pretty extraordinary that they said, we don't believe this is going to die in the Senate. It doesn't matter. The president's going to continue, and he's going to win re-election. That's from a trader on Wall Street.
Yeah, the most hypocritical thing I heard last night was when the chairman solemnly looked to the camera and said, go search your conscience. Where's his conscience been for the last 3 years? Where's his conscience last November when he ran on the fact that I will be the best one to impeach this president? Think about that comment and let the American people, let these impeachment articles sink in with a comment from Jerry Nadler last year saying, in November of last year, months before Mueller, months before the July call, he said, I'm going to be the person who impeaches Donald Trump. His conscience has been seared for many years now on this president, and this is all a result of what they want to do to this president because they can't stand the fact the economy is booming, our military is fine, our foreign standing is great, and the American people are seeing through because they see a man who's doing what he said he would do.
Yeah, speaking of consciences, where is the conscience on making sure that the wrongdoers face justice who tried to put their finger on the scale in 2016 and wiretapped an American citizen for no reason? I'm talking about Carter Page. That IG report was completely a window into what they did. Meanwhile, you've got, I want to talk to you about the IG report in a second, but let me ask you about this, because top lawmakers are saying they've reached an agreement on government spending. This deal gives Congress and the White House a week to approve specifics before funds run out next week. What can you tell us, Congressman, about the budget, and will the impeachment vote happen before the budget deadline on the 20th?
Well, it'll be interesting. It's amazing to me they have no problem trying to put off a vote at night, but they'll dump a whole spending bill on us late at night and then try to say figure it out. I think we're going to be parsing this out over the next little bit and seeing what happens. I would expect what we're hearing right now is, well, maybe if everything gets agreed to, we'll have a spending vote, an impeachment vote, and then possibly the USMCA after that. So again, they don't know. They're making this up as they go because they're desperate. They came to the end of the year. People are, at the end of the year, you always make a list. Say, what did we do this past year? Nancy Pelosi's list is very short because they have actually accomplished nothing except go after this president. So I think that's your standard of what we're looking for. But the spending bill, we'll have to look into it. They've dumped a lot of things in there. As usual with this majority, they don't have time to overlook it. They just want to get something done.
And all on top of what came out was a stunning indication of what the FBI, or a cabal of people at the top of the FBI and the top of CIA, did in 2016. Let me read you a quote from the AG. The Inspector General's report now makes clear that the FBI launched an intrusive investigation into a U.S. presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. It is also clear that from its inception, the evidence produced by the investigation was consistently exculpatory. In other words, they did not put in important exculpatory evidence to the FISA court when they were trying to get that warrant to wiretap Carter Page. And getting a wiretap on Carter Page basically gave them a window into everything Trump was doing, because you've got the phone calls and the emails of everything, how he's communicating with the Trump campaign.
I agree completely. Here's an interesting, just to put it in summation pretty easily. It is what Republicans, Chairman Nunes, Intelligence Committee, others committee members on the Judiciary Committee have been saying was right, and Chairman Schiff lies. Wow, that's a commonality here. That Chairman Nunes and everything that we had, and you and I have talked a lot about the corrupt cabal, starting with Strzok, McCabe, Comey, all of what they did with the intelligence community's help was wrong in the way they started, and how this is just corruption of the FISA court.
Yeah.
But what is interesting more for those who think that this was okay for them, remember, Mr. Durham is not like Mr. Horowitz. Mr. Horowitz was basically giving you a report on here's what's wrong. Mr. Durham actually has a grand jury and can proceed in different ways and put people under oath in very different ways. This is not over yet.
Yeah, and he would not say that this investigation is a criminal investigation unless there were indications that there could be some criminal activity here. I want to point your attention to one of your colleagues, Congressman Crapo, who was at the hearing yesterday with Michael Horowitz. Watch this.
I understand why people would be skeptical of that. There is such a range of conduct here that is inexplicable, and the answers we got were not satisfactory, that we're left trying to understand how could all these errors have occurred over a 9-month period or so among 3 teams, handpicked, one of the highest profile, if not the highest profile case in the FBI, going to the very top of the organization involving a presidential campaign.
Well, I understand and I appreciate that. I think it is explicable. But I understand that you can't, or at least aren't, going to make that jump.
So, Congressman, what's with the conclusions in the IG report from Michael Horowitz? I mean, look, you can say there were 17 mistakes in terms of, putting those FISA applications through. But it's not, I mean, a mistake is like, oh, I made a mistake, I made a typo. These are errors in terms of holding back key information to the FISA Bureau, FISA court. These are, not telling the FISA court that Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier, and the dossier is the only evidence we have in terms of justifying a wiretap. A mistake is a typo. I mean, these are bigger than mistakes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you don't call it mistakes, you call it corrupt malpractice is what you look at, because they knew what they were doing. If you go back and you look at this, and not just take the reports and this stuff in the FISA report, you look at the whole total batch of evidence here, and you see that this was a planned action. This was someone they did not like the president. They were looking for any end that they could do. But I remember, and again, I respect Mr. Horowitz. I disagree on that he should have been much stronger on this. But again, that's part of not his job. It will be more of Mr. Durham's job as we go forward. But understand something. Only a Department of Justice lawyer or a lawyer working in and around the Department of Justice would actually say that when you sent human intelligence, you actually listened to conversations, you followed them, you did all of these things, only they would not call that spying. It's just an amazing concept here when they look at it. It's just about, most American people, when they're sitting around having breakfast this morning saying, well, they're spying on him, this is what we're looking at.
Yeah. If it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Spying, surveillance, whatever you want to call it. Break some news before you go, Congressman. How does this impeachment thing play out?
It plays out exactly the way the Democrats have dreamed it would for over 3 years. They're going to actually impeach the president. This is not about anything that he actually did wrong. He did nothing wrong, and we've prayed that out factually. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to have their impeachment vote. They're going to have to then go home during the Christmas break, and there's going to be a lot of Democrats in a lot of districts having to explain why they want to take out a very popular president who's doing exactly what he said on the flimsiest evidence, because they're wanting to satisfy the egos of Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and Jerry Nadler. I don't think I'd want to go run on that.
Well, we know that at least 2 Democrats are no. We know that Jeff Van Drew told me that he is definitely a no. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. We appreciate your time.
Always good to be with you. Keep Dusty out of the snow.
Thank you so much. I will. She likes the snow, I think. Congressman
It looked great.
Doug Collins joining us. Thank you, sir.